Narvana,
With an I or with an N?
with a G. But I learned a lot of shit that I didn't know.
Maybe some stuff you didn't want to know.
Yeah.
Schaefer Yaks! Woo! Schaefer Cool.
Schaefer Yaks.
Schaefer Yaks!
Schaefer Yaks.
Schaefer Yaks.
Protect this and this, and we're good.
Except for the one recently.
Or except for that one yesterday.
Schaefer Yaks.
Schaefer Yaks.
Schaefer Yaks. Schaefer Yaks.
Schaefer Yaks.
How you doing, man?
Not too bad, man. What's up?
Dude, a Koei was different today. My first time in a creek boat on a Koei in like over a year. But I'm having free time in the Narvana, and I'm doing Shio Saturday. So I wanted, I don't know, get some sea time.
Oh, you wanted to get the creek boat out.
Yeah. Yep.
What creek boat is it?
Narvana,
With an I or with an N?
with a G.
The Nar. The Na. You got the Navarna and the Narvana.
Yeah.
You have the Narvana. Could they make it any more goofier? I bitched and complained about that. Like, I don't know why they... And it's not like it's like the same boat. It's so drastically different.
I have them both.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they're so different. So why they went with that same name, Dagger was going to go with like Mamba, and the code was going to be another Mamba. It was going to be like Mamba whatever. See, the code is technically a Mamba because you has two versions of the Mamba. There's 6 Mambas technically, and then the code would have been 9 Mambas. And I was like, you better not. I was like, that is the dumbest thing ever. You're talking about really confusing not only dealers, but you can confuse the consumer when you rehash names like that. Do you not agree?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, because you just told me you had a Narvana. I don't know which one you got. Do you have the old one or the new one? So you technically have both. So you're right either way.
And they're both red, so...
When you talk about a good beginner boat, what I think of is there's a few criteria. You're like, I usually look at what are you trying to gain out of paddling? What is your main focus? Like, are you, and kind of like, are you in shape or are you if someone's really out of shape, I want to get them in something that's more like a creek boat to kind of get their skills down and take care of them. Or if they're like, maybe, I know it's hard to believe, but some people don't want to get better. There's people out there, you might have met them, it's like, man, I'm just happy just paddling the Akoi the rest of my life and Natahala.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's totally fine. And you might be 60 years old, and that's all you want to do. Why would you tell that person you need to get an aggressive full slice? That's not what, they don't want to. They're like, no, I'm happy. I'm happy in my code. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. So there's always that, like, when people say, what's a good beginner boat? It's hard for me to say, oh, it's this exact boat. Because sometimes creek boats are, and that's where me and Corin kind of agreed to disagree. Because he's like, oh, this is it. He went on a tangent about, like, creek boats. Because I've had that podcast before about what makes a good beginner boat. And does a really, say, like a Jackson Zen 3. That's by far, to me, and let's talk about boats that are available today.
I bought that for my wife because she didn't want to learn how to roll.
Exactly, and you know what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
It's not my place to say she should be in a puffy steez. Get her out of that, and then watch her struggle, and then swim, and actually, it could take people out of the sport. So to me, I'm like, I'll recommend a creek boat if it's somebody that's like just now kind of like getting into paddling and they're maybe later in life, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, somewhere in between there, and they're wanting to just paddle the Navahala, a Koi at most, maybe some Teleco if they want to be extreme, and just have a boat take care of them and not have to worry about anything. And I'm like, well, there's nothing wrong with getting them. I would say probably a Jackson Z3, a NAR, a Code, even like an RMX for a boat that's just going to kind of like take care of you. Maybe as far as Zet, I would say like a Cross or 5, a boat that's going to take care of you. But there was this one guy, you probably know his name, Shane Simonex, or whatever he calls himself nowadays, Waka Bro. But when he first started paddling, you probably know him too, because he bought a Jackson Zen 3 from obviously Dane, and he was fangirling over Dane. So he had this, and I was like, dude, I'm telling you, for him, terrible idea for a first boat. I was like, no. That if you're wanting to improve and get better, I would say go with a kind of an aggressive river runner. Even like Corn's Hammer, I think that boat's going to fit that category of that. The Soul Hammer would be in that category of like someone that's wanting to get better and kind of improve with their boat. And so would a Piranha Scorch. The Scorch is like that too. It's going to challenge you, but you better be ready to improve with it. It's going to barely take care of you compared to like a Code or a Zen 3 or something that, man, you could get in.
Link to your reviews below.
Yeah, and I've done reviews on these, and I try to like talk about that in the reviews, that now given advanced to expert paddlers can make anything work. We can put Dane in any type of, that's why he paddled the Zen 3 for so long. Doesn't matter, because you can make it work.
The Toto falls in the Z3.
Yeah, those boats, because look at all the guys paddling for Dagger, they paddle a Code, and that boat now in California is the California boat. It's very soft, it doesn't hang up on rocks, the edges are lifted, and it's very high rockered, and it's big bulbous in the tail, and it just blasts out of things really nicely. So to say that that's not a beginner boat, that's an expert boat, because Isaac Hall makes it look really good, is not. It's beginner to expert. But there's nothing wrong. I think the Code is a really good type of beginner boat to take care of you, just like the Z3 and the RMX in a way. The RMX is a kind of a hybrid, in my opinion, and then so is the Scorch. And, there's that. I guess it'd be like a softer beginner boat and like a hard edge beginner boat, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. For a beginner, the RMX and Scorch would be secondary toward like the Code or the Z3. I
would say yes. I would say Code and Z3 for people that just want to kind of like be taken care of and have something with that really good initial stability with high edges on it. And then like the Scorch and RMX is kind of like a hybrid. The RMX to me is caught somewhere in between the Scorch and the Code. It's like somewhere right in here. It's not as aggressive as a Scorch. It's not as soft as like the Code. It's somewhere in between that. So it's weird how all these manufacturers have their own kind of design philosophy. So you could kind of like any brand has like a mix of different boats. Some are really good beginner boats, really soft and really aggressive and edgy.
Yeah.
But it really is hard to pick, just say this is one boat. I would say for me, this is just my opinion, one boat does it all for very soft river running and beginner friendly is the Dagger Code, in my opinion. I think it's the best kind of like, it's a boat that you could buy today and you could have that boat for the rest of your life and be happy on any creek anywhere, in my opinion. It really is that.
Shorter creek boats?
What's that?
Is that a shorter creek boat, or is that like the same length as a Narvana?
It's the Narvanas are 9 foot. Well, the Navarna is 9 foot, and the Nars I think the one you have, if it's a medium, it's probably 8'10". And then I think the Dagger medium Code's like 8'8", 8'9". So no, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's weird. It seems like to me the good creek boat, especially here in the southeast, man, the best size creek boat I think is between 8'6" to 9 foot, right in there. You start getting around the RMX, which is 9'4", and then the 96s was 9'6". You start getting so long that I think unless you're really, really good at like hitting, when you get that thing on micro creeks, so like a real small micro creek, that's where it starts struggling because it's so much boat to to whip around. That's why I like the Code and the Scorch so much for my kind of go-to everything boats.
What kind of type of paddler, or I should say, what type of beginner would you be recommending, like an Antics or like a Firecracker or the Hot Whip?
Yeah, when you
recommend that for any kind of beginner.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. It's like when you get to that realm, if you're saying I'm like a very, let's say it's like a young guy or girl that's coming up and they're really wanting to get into paddling, they would actually be okay to like get a boat like the Antics. I know several people that started in like Antics and won, and they're really good paddlers now because you learn how to pivot that tail around and you learn how to use those edges really well, and it's soft enough to take care of you through things. But the learning curve is a little harder. But if you're like more wanting to get better, I would actually recommend a half slice. If you're like somebody, it's like, man, I'm wanting to get better, because a half slice is also something that you could grow with forever. You get a half slice, and I mean, do you have an Antics? Yeah, see, I mean, you could get a half slice and just paddle that boat for the rest of your life and be fine with it.
It got me in a little trouble at Section 4.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And then if you want, you're doing the right thing. Bring your creek boats back out. Get some seat time in your Nirvana. Get out there, get some seat time. You're getting ready to go run something a little harder that's going to push your skill set. There is nothing wrong with creek boats. I don't like it when people like make themselves struggle in like full slices or half slices down burly runs just to prove a point. I'm like, man, it's almost like you're punishing yourself. Yeah, it's like you don't need that. It's like you don't need to have that type of boat. There's nothing wrong with getting a big volume creeker.
Your longevity, because when you do shit like that, I mean, fuck, I really shouldn't talk because I get hurt so much. It's not even funny, but you know,
yeah, I'm in it for the marathon, baby. Some's out for the sprint. I'm in for the marathon.
Right. Well, I'm trying to, but
yeah,
damn, dude, I'm such a beater.
Well, and then that's one reason I kind of stopped doing a lot, because where you see the most injuries is doing goofy stuff, you know, flips, Cobra rolls, free wheels off of stuff, even like kick flips into shallow water. Why risk your shoulders and getting hurt doing just that goofy stuff? Which I get it, we could all get hurt, but I mean, I'm way more impressed by somebody that gets out and just looks smooth and can run a river and make a rapid look easy. That impresses me way more.
In your videos?
I screw up sometimes too.
You have like 100,000 people trying to just mimic how smooth you are going into
Well, I just basically, but they don't see the time that I worked on that, you know, the 10,000 hours things of like how bad I was for so long. And it's just like, and then watching videos and watching other people definitely helped out a lot. Just kind of like watching and learning. And then I'm somebody that's, when I don't know something and I want to know it, I'll dive deep into it. I'll go and I'll watch videos on slalom paddlers on how they place their stroke. And that's where I first started doing the crossbow, was I would see the slalom paddlers doing it, coming in and out of eddies, and I started implementing the rivers and just started working on it more. And it actually helped me. And sometimes I'll use it where you don't think you need it. Say if there's a wall right here and you need to eddy out, I'll put my paddle here, so my paddle's on this side of my boat, and it gives me a quick kind of in and out of the eddy super fast. So there's times where it actually is functional. And if you ever break a blade and you have to use one blade, it's good to have that skill, which I have. I've broken a paddle and it was like nothing. I was like crossbowing over and taking strokes. I didn't have to switch hands constantly. I could just reach across. And that is definitely going to happen to you. You paddle enough, you're going to break a paddle somewhere on a rapid. Yeah, that's for sure. What kind of paddle you have right now?
Werner Carbon Powerhouse.
Okay, that's a good one. That's probably why you're not with an old school. Like, I'm not calling you
I
out,
like
but
that paddle a lot too.
yeah, those are good paddles.
Too. I don't the bench shafts kind of mess me up, man.
Yeah, and I'll go back and forth between the cranks. I'm not a big fan of just the neutral bends. The neutral bends like that, and a crank's like that. So a crank is like a G Power or Lettman. It basically, so if I'm holding it here, it puts the blade here instead of like here. This is what they call a neutral bend, natural bend. See where the blade is? Like if you see where my hand is, it's right in line with my hand. But with a Lettman paddle, the blade is right here, and so is a G Power. So it gives you that extra reach and extra pull and power. I just got used to using it, and I'll never want to go back. That's another one of my broken Adachis, by the way. 3 of them. That's why I won't buy an Adachi again.
Talking about, we brought up half slices earlier. If you had a go-to half slice, what would you pick?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to answer that because, once again, where are we going to go? Are we going to be on some big, burly water? If it's big, burly, if it's something massive, I'd be in a Ripper 2, large. And
you want the longer.
It's not that much longer. It's just got more volume. I don't like a boat that's super easy to get on the tail. I like that challenge to get into. That's why I like the Firecracker 252. Even though I'm like 180, 185, I don't like a boat where I'm just on the tail all the time. Because then when you get on the stouter stuff, I feel like I can get that Ripper 2 down and the Firecracker 252 down pretty easy. So right now, man, I mean, I just love what Piranha's doing. I think they're really pushing it. They listen to the consumers. They get out here. They do a lot of research, and Piranha's been nailing it on their designs. I come off like a complete Piranha fanboy, but I mean, everybody that paddles them likes the boats. But I also really like that Liquid Logic Hot Whip. And there's times I would want the Hot Whip over the Firecracker, but I like the Firecracker's bow for getting the way they did the Hot Whip's bow. It comes in and it tapers in, and the Firecracker is like a Scorch up there. It's like a mini Scorch. It's really wide with wave deflectors. So when it hits, it lifts and takes off, where the Firecracker still has a tendency to pierce through. And in today's modern world, I don't think we need that. We don't need to be piercing through. I think it's better to lift and get up over things. So I'd take a Firecracker 252 and a Ripper 2 on pretty much. That'd be my 2 go-to half slices. And then the Hot Whip, dangling, man, the Hot Whip is right there, though. The Hot Whip is, like, to me, caught somewhere in the middle of those two.
I was just recommended to try one. Joe Gudger literally just told me I should try one today.
What do you weigh?
I'm like 185, 190. It depends. Like
you'll like the Hot Whip. You'll like it. Yeah,
I sat in the Hunters, but the back band is so low. And
oh boy. Yeah, I could go on and on. That Liquid Logic has their outfitting from, I don't know, 1986. I'm like, please, Liquid Logic, update your outfitting. I have kind of, yeah. There's some things I had experimented on lifting I have an RMX. The RMX you set deeper in the boat than the Hot Whip. The problem is the Hot Whip. I had this problem with the Sweet Ride too. I actually fell out of the boat several times. The backband's so low down on it's out of the small of the back. And if you got worked in a big hole, I came out of the boat and I actually grabbed the rim to keep from being ejected and pulled myself back. I was upside down, holding paddle in this hand, and pulled myself back in because it almost ejected me out of the boat. And no one's going to believe you. Dude, I got through. They're like, yeah, right. You're just getting worked. But no, so what I did, I went in and I lengthened the little straps that come out, and I've lengthened those up, and then I pulled the back band way up where it fit down in the small of my back and gave me a little more bite, where your back starts turning. That's where I think a back band's best.
I think that's why I like Jackson's, man. You can get those things so high up on the
Jackson's and daggers Jackson's and daggers, and then Piranha, and that's where I first started moving all that when I did that. My back band hack that I guess I got named for, and it's like it's like because I don't like a low sitting back band. I like them to be right on my back, and Piranha runs theirs through the seat loops, but what that does, that pulls it down low, and it sets kind of just right on the rump of your ass instead of where I think it needs to be. And the Jackson back band is really good. Dagger back bands are really good. Piranhas are good if you work with them a little bit. Liquid Logic, to me, they're the strongest. Those things are, it's just a big band, right? It's like a big plastic band. It's like an extruded, but they are so super strong. It's by far the strongest back band. Good luck breaking any of those things. But I just don't like where they sit. They sit very low. And even when I paddle that Soul, the Hammer, I like where he has, now this is all the new outfitting, not some of the older stuff, but where the new outfitting is, I like how high the back band is. It was pretty comfortable in that too.
Did the hole for the wheel affect performance at all? Could you feel it?
No.
Did it ever get loaded up?
No, you're only looking at, dude, it's seriously less than an inch, and it's kind of right where the rocker starts kicking up. You're not going to feel that much. And in such turbulent water, you're not going to feel that much anyway. It's actually right where the rocker starts coming up, and it's it's like that big. It's like almost nothing. I mean, if I did feel it, I thought it might be part of the boat. It was like,
but you really liked that boat, didn't you?
I did like that boat a lot. I went in with very low expectations, but I came out pleasantly surprised. And I did that with the Glide. The Glide was really good too. I think the Glide and the Hammer are two of Soul's best designs right now that I paddled. Now, given I haven't been in all of them, I've been in the Gonzo and I've been in the 303, and I think that's it right now. And then, I've not had a desire to. The problem is they're all designed really small, and being 180, 185, it's been hard to kind of fit in those. The Hammer was the first one that I think actually nailed it. It's like a big medium. I think it's definitely a player in the market. It's one of those things, and now they're in Georgia. They're right there at Fested Waters, so those guys are selling them, and I think they'll be a good. Yep. Yeah, if you get a chance, man, I suggest demoing one of those. A lot of people might crap on Soul, but I'm telling you, if you get out and you start paddling, because I paddle just about anything. I doubt there's anybody that's paddled more boats than me. I was thinking of this the other day. I said, I haven't been in the same boat in my past maybe 30 trips. I've been in a different kayak. Every time I haven't got used to a kayak long enough. I'm like constantly jumping around to kayak, but I kind of enjoy that.
It makes you a better paddler, though.
It gives you
with every boat, man.
Dude, I'm telling you, after paddling, I'm in hundreds of boats at this point. After paddling so many kayaks, you get where I could tell you what a boat's going to do within the first maybe 2 rapids, how that boat's going to perform the rest of the day. I can tell you, it's just a feeling, and I'm sure, I'm not the only one to do it. Someone like EJ could do that, Corin or somebody like that, Shane, but I'm sure they could get in a boat, but their problem is they don't paddle much outside their niche. I try to paddle every brand that I can find just because I'm curious. And the crazier the boats, I just paddled that Horny Potato. The crazier the boat, the more I want to paddle it.
I have to just assume, based on what they named that boat, that it has to be just the most spectacularly handling boat. Because it looks like shit. It's named like shit.
Well, from what I understand, so in Germany, they didn't reach out to many people, but to translation means, I think horny also means the word cool in Germany. So it'd be like the cool potato. And yeah, so it's something, I've been trying to actually get someone from Letman and talk to them about this on a podcast, but good luck. Maybe you can get a hold of them. They won't even return my emails. But it's like I from what I understand,
his last name's Schaefer.
yeah, I'll send them all your way. And I've been trying, even one of their team guys, and it's like, I just want to kind of like know the story behind that. But I like the boat. I think that boat particular, it did some things really good and some things not so good. I will have a review. I actually already have the review. I batch record a lot of stuff. It's in if you're on my members page, anyone that's a member gets all of my videos early, but that review probably won't be out till, it's been done for about 3 days, but I just haven't made it public. But the review, you can watch it. It's basically, I talk about what it does really well and what it didn't do so well. And that's one of those boats, man, I'm telling you, that's going to be an advanced style kayak. I would not recommend a beginner in that one. That's not something.
What's that?
Ninja.
Like the Ninja?
Well, the Ninja just came out, and I'll be paddling in it this weekend, apparently.
Or what's that slalom half slice they made?
The Chili. The Chile.
The Chile.
The Chile. The Chili.
The Chili.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what was giving Jerry a hard time at the.
That's why when I paddled that Piranha version, the Evo 2, I called it the Chili Cooker, baby.
That's the one that has like the reverse rocker.
Yep. Yeah, and that's an extreme slalom boat, or what they call an England kayak cross. So
Bundy said he had a hard time getting used to it.
Yeah, it's just a downriver. That's not meant for creeking. It's not meant for playboating. It's made for downriver, fast pivot turns and getting like attainments and eddy, like blast ferries and things like that. It's not made for all around paddling, but I think you could use it for that if you just wanted to me, I was like, if you got this boat, let's say you lived at the Whitewater Center, right? Say you lived in Montgomery or Charlotte, and you just want to go out there every weekend and push yourself, get one of those things. You will have a blast because it's the closest thing to being in a $3,000 slalom kayak that won't break on you when you hit the walls. You hit the walls with one of them, they shatter. And you can take that thing and it's plastic and it paddles the river, but you could also take it to the Ocoee and have a fun day. That's where that boat I think is going to do really well, the Evo. And the Chili's a little different. The Chili's is more of a well-rounded type extreme slalom boat into a river runner half slice. In my opinion,
not something you would recommend for a beginner.
No. Man, it'd be like if you got one. You got to think there's beginners that start out in like Wave Sport triple X's and paddle those and just beat her all the time until they get better. So I'm not saying that you couldn't do it. I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend to get something with a little more volume. If you really want to go there, get a Ripper 2, a Rewind, an Antics 2. Get something in that realm. Don't just punish yourself just for the sake of punishing yourself. You're out there to have fun, man. It's like, don't go out there to swim everything. I don't know how many laps I've done in my Scorch on the Ocoee. We're talking probably 100 laps, just like Joe. I agree with it. It's like there is nothing wrong with taking, because I feel that guys like me and Joe kind of like made that creek boat freestyle, cartwheeling, phantoms and looping them and doing things like that. You get where when you're out in your creek boat and I get in a big massive hole, I don't panic at all. It's like, and I'm actually different than a lot of people, where a lot of people will recommend get a playboat and become a playboater to get better at kayaking. I actually recommend not doing that. And the reason is, if you paddle a rock star all the time and all you do is set in a hole and play in a hole, when you get in that Nirvana or that Dagger Phantom or a Code or something, and then you get on a creek, you can't do what you do in that rock star in your Phantom because you never do it. And then you get worked in a hole and you end up, so I've seen some really good playboaters. I'm not going to name their names, but some high-level playboaters from Georgia that I've watched them swim and struggle on creeks because they're phenomenal play boaters, but then you get them in a creek boat, and then they get it worked in a hole. You can't throw them around as easy.
I'm not saying I'm a phenomenal play boater because I'm not. I'm just a beater. But that literally happened to me today. I couldn't make ferries that I make in my Rockstar.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yeah, I struggled all day long. And that honestly made me consider taking my antics to Chill.
See what I mean? Well, and then that's where you get stuck in that realm. That's where you get stuck where I've met people and they just paddled a small half slice, and then we're on our way to Toxaway and they want to do something stout or Linville. I'm like, you don't want to bring that antics. And they're like, well, but it's what I feel comfortable in. I was like, I know, but I'm telling you, if you turn around backwards or get offline or go vert off of something, you're going to be in a world of trouble. You're going to wish you had a creek boat that had all that volume to jump. Number one, safety to get out of it. And number two, if you kind of like spin around, you can bang the tail and spin back around. All of that volume is going to take care of you. So people get so used to paddling those boats like their Antics or Rockstar, and then okay, the creeks are up, man, let's go run something stout, and you haven't paddled your creek boat in 4 months, and then you realize, or you never paddling. I know people that have like, Antics, Firecrackers or something like that. They don't have a Scorch, but they're like, yeah, I haven't paddled a Scorch since I bought it. I'm like, oh, why? Don't be ashamed to take it down the Ecoe and just like challenge yourself.
This is a personal attack. I bought that Narvana, and that's the second time I found it.
I'd be way more impressed you throwing cartwheels and washing machine or hellhole in that Nirvana than seeing you out there in one of those little rock stars bouncing around. What you should do, I mean, if it was me and I had one of those little dorky boats, the little tiny ones, which I'll never own one of those ever again. It's like take your Narva, so go to the Ecoe, take your Nar, and then paddle from like paddle to Go Forth and really work the river, like work it. Don't just, hit the lines that you never thought you could hit. Try to hit things sideways, try to do cartwheels, and play your way, like just really rip up in your creek boat all the way to Go Forth. Then get in your car, drive down the hellhole, get your little Rockstar and sit and be a bridge troll for about 4 hours and sit out there and then hang out under the bridge in your little Rockstar. There's the ultimate day, because you got space on your racks, and that's what I used to do. I had a Jitsu and a Nomad, and I would work the Nomad on the river, and then I would go down to hellhole and just play in the Jitsu and just like work that, because I hate those things downriver. They're boxes. They paddle like Kleenex boxes. I don't care what brand they are. They're all just too short. They're very boxy, and they just paddle like a little box down the river.
And you get tossed around. I did Columbus at like 4+ chins in my Rockstar and just got fucking tossed the entire way down, man.
And I'm telling you that it's like, and I don't apply that to a full slice, because a full slice will get you used to underwater currents, and it'll help you learn the river better. As far as and it really opens up, bow stalls and splats and working the river all the way down. You can technically do that in a Rockstar, but come on, it's not as cool as seeing somebody just sitting there an 8-foot, a Mixmaster, a Supernova, or an Ultrafuge or something like that, working a rock instead of seeing a box go boink, 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 just like that. I'm like, oh god, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But I'm just saying, as far as me personally, I had one of those boats. I've had a few of them over the years, but it's like I'll never own another spud potato boat. I'll own slicey boats, and even those I don't paddle as much, because I'm telling you, they do so much wear and tear to your body, the constant torso rotation, and I have pulled more muscles in my chest, my back, and my shoulder doing just goofy slicey boat moves than actual paddling, than just running a river. So that's why I think a half slice to me now this is just me personally, I think is my most well-rounded craft is a half slice boat.
And
Ripper too.
That's one of the 9-foot ones, right? Not the 8-foot ones.
No, I like the Firecracker for how small and tight it is. and how I don't hit bottom as much. I'm really liking that firecracker because I just took it on the West Fork last weekend, and I was splatting things I never splat. So I was playing and splatting, not cartwheeling, but just like Eddie whipping around everywhere, where I could not do that in a Ripper 2 because you're like,
Is that more forgiving than the Antics, the firecracker?
yes, I think so.
Because I get stern loaded, dude.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the problem, me and you are about the same weight, so we fall in that weird in between of the Antics large and the you're probably too big for the if you're 180, you're too big for the Antics medium. You know,
that's what I have.
Your buddies at Jackson would probably disagree. They would be like, "No, you're fine," but I'm telling you, that boat I felt was too small. And it's perfect for someone about 150. At 150, that boat is money. And the same way with the firecracker medium, you get about 140 to about 160, you're right on. Can you paddle these boats at 200? Yeah, you can. But you'll be like you said, you're going to get stern loaded everywhere. Where when I got the firecracker 252, that went away because the Firecracker 242 was stern loading on me way too much. So I was running down at Columbus. I was coming into a hole, and it would not unengage. It would lock in like that and just roll with me like that. And I can't stand that because you're not level. I'm just riding. And, it's fun, and, yeah, you can whip off of it. But I want to just run the river. And the 252 fixed that because it's so much wider and it's got more volume back there. So you'd probably want to I don't know if you tried the large Antics, but it's not a good boat in my opinion.
Well, I tried a large OG Antics because that's what my sister-in-law had. And
that's a big boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jackson goes really big with their larges.
Yeah. That was not a fun boat.
No, and it's
it was weird to me.
Piranha goes a little smaller with their larges, just like with the large Scorch and the large Firecracker. They went in a large Ripper too. They go a little smaller with their sizing, and it seems like I'm always caught right in between. Being around 180, it's kind of hard. You're in that weird in between, and I like a bigger boat though. I do like being in a bigger volume boat. I don't struggle with like throwing them around or like playing around in them.
I've actually heard people recommend the large Narvana over the medium, even for someone my size. But that's a big ass boat.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it because I think they actually size the medium Narvana pretty good. I like the sizing on it. I actually paddled the small. I've paddled the small Nirvana and the large Nirvana. So I think they've learned their lesson, and what they did, they went a little larger with that. The sizing's off on the Antics too, in my opinion. And these are just my opinions. So I know you. If anybody hears it out there, they're like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm just telling you my opinion, and this is what I feel. I feel the sizing's off on the medium Antics, feels too small, and the Firecracker medium is a little bigger. So you might like that Firecracker medium 242 pretty good, and you might like the 252. Piranha found a formula that works. It's that wide, flat, planing bow with high rocker, but then it's not the planing bow. It's those wave deflectors on the side. You can actually use those wave deflectors to grab water and change directions as you're going in a hole. So if you drop into a hydraulic, those wave deflectors, you can actually, as I'm dropping in, and this is all just feel, I could feel if I want to go left or right really fast and use those wave deflectors to lock in to keep my bow from slipping out, and it just kind of goes that way. And that's actually, if you ever look at the front of like a Scorch or have you been in one? Have you tried one out?
Yeah, at the Whitewater Center. Actually, when you were there, it was when I got caught in M-Wave or something, and you were like, he's the playboater, he'll be all right.
Oh, yeah, that's what I always say. He's a playboater, he'll be all right. And next thing you know, you're swimming down the river. No, you got out, though. No, you got out. Yeah, the Whitewater Center might not have been the best place for it. I mean, if you get like an actual medium Scorch and get it like out on the Akoi, Chioa, and stuff like that, that's where that boat really comes alive. Like, you really appreciate that. And Wakas are the same way. The Waka Stoke is another one that's really that kind of like, that's their newest one that they just dropped, and I would recommend that boat to a beginner that's wanting to get better. So if it's a beginner that's wanting to improve their techniques, I'd go Piranha Scorch, Waka Stoke, probably the RMX, and maybe even like, dang it, then I might probably start trying to put them in half slices. Maybe like that Soul Hammer, which is not half slice, but it's kind of like a River Runner Creeker. I would say go in that if you're wanting to improve your technique. And then for those that just want to be taken care of out on the river, it's like, Ben, I just want to get out and I just want to float. I don't care. I just don't want to roll. It's like,
Yep.
Jackson Zen 3,
Yep.
Dagger Code, the RMX, boats like that are going to take care of you, and I call them floaters. You can almost put your paddle down and just float that thing down the river. It's so stable.
To round everything off, you're like, look, you need to kind of have questions for yourself.
Yeah.
Athletic background, right? How are you in shape? Are you not in shape? Right?
And do you want to be in shape? Some people don't want to be in shape. You've met them. I don't care. I ain't ever going to the gym. Screw it.
Are you trying to get in shape?
I just want to float around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to ask yourself these questions. It isn't just this is the best boat for beginners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, if you ask, and that's what I would recommend anyone is like, ask yourself, what am I trying to get out of this whole sport? We're all out there just trying to have fun. It's, when you start if you start saying, I want to get better, I want to race, I want to like travel and race and get better, go for the aggressive boats. Those type of people, man, they could almost get anything. Honestly, you could start them out in a Wave Sport XXX, and they will get there because they have that drive and they want to get better, and then nothing's going to stop them. And they might beat her, they might swim, but you know what? They learn and they get better. But then I'm telling you, all of those paddlers will eventually, they reach that point of like, it's never going to get stout enough. You got to be careful because there's that balancing point. This is a whole nother topic, but you can get to that point where you start running one rapid. Then you're like, okay, that's not hard. You run something, you get really good. Then you start getting class 5. It's like super simple. Now you want to travel. And now it's like nothing is ever stout enough. And it's hard to come back. It's like once you go, I call it chasing that white demon, where you go out, that bigger, badder stuff, and then it's like, it's never going to be bad enough. And then you realize I need a bigger boat. So then you start changing boats again. You're like, okay, no. Yeah, that's why you go out west, man. Full slices do not exist out west. You go to White Salmon, none of those guys paddle full slices. They might act like they do, but unless they're from the southeast, they're not paddling full slices. Because I was out there, and I'm calling BS on any of those guys. It's like, we all paddle full slice. I go out there, man, nothing but creek boats. Everywhere. Aggressive creek boats. Because look at where they're at. You don't want a full slice.
What was your nastiest injury with kayaking?
I've never really, I popped a tendon in my thumb. I caught my paddle and I popped a tendon. I couldn't use my hand for about 2 months. Couldn't you? And you take a thumb away, you can't, you don't even want to use it at all. Did that. I've exploded one of my discs in my back. I actually still struggle with that today. One of my discs, it got really bad herniated, and it's really not from any type of like one actual thing. It was a cumulative, like a bunch of little boofs, bunch of those little flat boofs, and it's like all of my discs started like getting really bad. So it's like I know when it's coming on. So I've had back injuries. I've tweaked shoulders, never dislocated the shoulders, and I've got theories on that too because I got muscular shoulders, and I stretch my shoulders a lot and do a lot of shoulder workouts, and I've never dislocated one. Knock on wood on that. This weekend. Well, Ben, so I've been lucky on that. Yeah, and split my eyeballs open, stuff like that, but nothing to me. I've been fairly lucky. It's more like luck and then probably skill and then just basically smarts, I think, is more what got me along. I'm not getting injured.
You're probably naturally athletic too, so that's got.
Yeah, I played. I actually was a street baller. I usually travel around with like the and one stuff and do a lot of basketball.
I played AAU basketball.
Yeah, yeah. I was like the professor. I was the dribbler. I'm a really good ball handler with a lot of like. I'm a crafty little white guy that can just like pound down in the paint, and you either get tough or get the hell off the court. So I played that a lot. I played a lot of street ball, and that's how I stayed athletic. And then when I got into paddling, it just kind of like took off. And then it was one of those things I had wanted to. It's wanting to get. I wanted to get better. Like I wanted to get better. So I started watching videos and researching it and like, why is this happening? And I would study, sprint racing and slalom paddlers. I would study everything. And it's like the knowledge is out there. The knowledge is out there. Everybody has. I'm sure you probably have a video on how to get better. Everybody has videos on.
Yeah.
Well, you probably will.
I gotta get better before I can try to help others.
Oh, that doesn't matter at this point. It's YouTube. Just really, I always say, dim lighting and up close, you can look like a beast. A lot of zooms, low-angled zooms, and you can look awesome. Yeah, so there's so much information out there that I think people can get better if you want to get better, and that's what I did. I wanted to get better. So, and then being fit, I went through a fitness thing. And the racing's what really got me kind of really pushing it. Because you don't want to be embarrassed in the race. Get it, you're a normal working class guy. You're not going to beat someone like Dane. You're not going to be world champion at this crap. And if you do, what did you win? I don't know, a paddle, $50.
Really
I don't know.
like a paddle?
No, you get a stained glass window out of a church somewhere. I don't know what you get. You get no money. Yeah, it's not like you look at motocross, you look at mountain biking, you get hundreds of thousands of dollars. Golf, fishing. So I don't know if you know this, but I started Bonafide Kayaks. So I worked in fishing. It was like 5 of us. So I worked at Dagger, but then I left there and got with the crew. They had started it, and then I came on right when it was growing up. So they were just getting ready to release the SS 127 series, and right when those came out, they were working on the 107, and I came on board and helped with the design team. And then my boat I worked the most on was the EX 123 and the RS 117. So those 2 boats right there I worked the most on. And then I kind of do some contract stuff with them just last year. I haven't worked with them in a while, but now they're in Fletcher, and now it's Native, Bonafide, Hurricane, Liquid Logic. It's all in the same building now. But they were actually 10 minutes from my house, the factory was. I'll be 90 years old and still floating around out there somewhere. If I can still do it, I'll still do it. But then if I'm injured or I just physically cannot do it anymore, I won't. In some capacity, there's a difference in just paddling, the Natahala or the Metro Hooch than doing Toxaway and Linville. That's a drastically different spectrum there. But there's always, I think, and that's what's great about this sport, like I can have just as much fun out in a fishing kayak, fishing for the day on a little class 1 river, like the Chattahoochee or whatever. I could go down that and just have a blast in a fishing kayak and work eddies and ferries and attainments and then fish while I'm doing it and just have a blast. And then I could go and run class 5 plus and have a blast too. So it's like the spectrum is so wide on it. I don't know why more people don't do it.
I mean, this might have to be a separate podcast. I don't know. Like trying to figure it out. Like maybe I go out one day and I interview random people. Like, why don't you kayak?
What's a kayak? Is number one. What's a kayak? I like a canoe. Yeah.
Hey, stranger, come with me. I'm going to take you kayaking. Tell me if you like it at the end of it.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons, and I like it that you do things like this because I want more and more people to do podcasts, to do YouTube channels. I'm the opposite, and the more you do it, I'm going to tell you, I get a lot of hate. I get, but I don't focus on the haters. I focus on the love, man, and it's like I don't really care because it's like I actually encourage guys like you, Hunter, anybody that's trying to do this. I want more people doing it. I'm like, I want to see paddling. I want to get it more to the masses, and I'm like, and I want more people reviewing boats. And that's why I've been trying to get Matt. I want Matt to be my replacement. And it's like, yeah. So
no one can replace you.
well, I know, but that's the problem. I've got a lot of like industry knowledge that's like not. That's you can start a review channel, right? But you'll never have that industry knowledge, like how plastic is made and where. And it's like my years working in kayaking is what helped me do that. And that's one reason I did it, because people would call me and ask me questions a lot, like, why does this boat do this? And what do you think about this? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a video and I'll just walk through the boat and tell you what it was. And it's like anywhere where we all start, it's terrible. You know, you go back and your old stuff is terrible. And you're like, oh, I'll figure it out. And then, yeah, so I want you doing reviews. I want everybody to do reviews because it's opinions. That's all it is. It's just your opinion.
Yeah. But your opinion has all that experience and expertise, and like you said, 10,000 hours, man.
And
you got 10,000 hours.
That's, hey man, there's something to that. I'm telling you, there's something to that.
Oh, I don't doubt you at all. That's
Yeah.
Captain America.
Yeah, I seen it. You put an American flag up when me giving the peace. I was like, oh God, you made me go and delete that picture. I was like, oh, yeah.
I had to, bro.
It was funny.
Literally, we all call you Captain America.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've been called way worse, so I guess I can live with that.
Dude, Wade, thank you so much for doing this, bro. Seriously.
Yeah, no problem.
Not joking when I said I owe you.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Like I said, I'll get the shuttle drive cooking back again, and me and Matt's been planning some stuff, and we'll do some, and then I'd like to get you on. What's a Schaefer Yaks?